2017, Riker and Alexei, along with another group member, were fined and banned from US federal lands for 5 years after walking on sensitive hot springs in Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah,
Despite
don't do
the
that.
controversy,
Oh,
their
yeah.
fans remained loyal.
Somebody, like, did that and jumped in and, like, got fucking boiled alive or something.
Drawn to the group's
That's right.
message of living life without limits. In one of Riker's last Instagram posts, he emphasized the importance of living in the moment and enjoying life, which resonated with his followers. The deaths of Riker, Alexei, and Megan left a lasting impact on the YouTube community and their fans. Their passion for exploring and living life to the fullest inspired countless people, but their tragic end shows the dangers that come with extreme adventures. Shannon Falls, while beautiful, remains a dangerous place, especially for those who underestimate its risks.
It's very pretty.
Authorities continue to warn visitors to exercise caution and to be mindful of the hazards when exploring such areas. It was November 26, 2021, in Kongsberg, Norway. Tor Eckhoff, better known as Apator on YouTube, was preparing for another daring stunt.
I don't know who this guy is.
He was famous for his extreme activities like ice skating and swimming in frozen lakes, all while drinking vodka.
Ooh, yeah, that's the way to do it.
Subscribers who eagerly watched his content.
Dude, I drink vodka all the time. Where's my 1 million subscribers?
That day,
guarantee you have drank more than he has.
To Jacob's Dam, a frozen lake, planning to skate on the ice while filming himself.
Nope.
It seemed like just another typical Friday for Tor. Tor was known for taking risks in his videos, often skating on thin ice or diving into freezing waters. He loved nature and adventure, and his stunts were a mix of humor and danger. Before starting his filming, he sent his partner, Tove Skjerven, a message with photos of himself at the lake, saying the conditions were good.
Oh, I didn't know that was a real name.
A tragic turn. While filming, the ice beneath Tor cracked, and he fell into the freezing water. Though he had been in icy water before, and always managed to escape this time,
not that
he
cold.
Couldn't pull himself out. Locals nearby heard his cries for help and immediately called for rescue. Firefighters and divers arrived quickly, pulling Tor from the water. He was rushed to Ullevål Hospital, but by the time he arrived, it was too late.
Yep.
Tor had been underwater too long. On November 27th, the day after the accident, doctors made the difficult decision to turn off life support. Tove and their son Johannes were with him in his final moments. It was a heartbreaking and sudden end for a man who had spent his life pushing boundaries. Tor's stunts were always dangerous. He skated on frozen lakes, often using a chainsaw to carve his way, and took freezing dips while drinking vodka. His unique mix of adventure and comedy made him a beloved figure in the YouTube community. Just 5 days before his death, Tor had posted a video celebrating his 57th birthday, humorously titled, "I am not dead, I am 57 today." In it, he sat in an outdoor bathtub, drank vodka, and filmed quirky moments like kissing a tree.
Dude, I want to party with this guy.
Ironically, it would be one of his last videos. Fans were shocked and saddened by the news of Tor's death. Many saw him as more than just a YouTuber. He was the epitome of fearless adventure. His final video, which had nearly 2 million views, was filled with comments from fans expressing their grief. Some called him a legend, while others shared how his videos had brought joy to their lives. Tove shared her pain in a heartfelt Facebook post, recalling the events of that day. She described how Tor had messaged her with excitement about the lake, only for tragedy to strike. She explained how the divers had tried to save him, but couldn't, because he had been underwater for too long. She ended her post by saying, "We have endless good memories, and we miss you so indescribably." Tor's death, while tragic, was not entirely unexpected. His stunts always carried risk, and those who followed him knew it. He had lived life on the edge, constantly
Looks like he's taken a bath in Jaeger, which would be amazing.
Testing his limits in dangerous situations. Unfortunately, on that cold November day, the risk caught up with him. In the wake of his death, tributes poured in from fellow YouTubers and fans. Swedish YouTuber Niemen wrote on Twitter, "He died doing what he loved, producing his wacky and nonsensical videos that never failed to make people smile." Other fans shared similar sentiments,
Viking Fjord,
remembering the laughter and excitement Tor had brought to their lives. Tor's YouTube
I've
channel,
never had that
which he
vodka.
started in 2006,
Svedka
was
man
filled with
myself.
content that reflected his adventurous spirit. Whether it was road trips, sunsets, or ice skating stunts, his love for nature and adventure was always clear. In an interview, Tor once said, "When you are ice swimming or messing around almost naked in the snow, you have a limited amount of time before you get too cold. During that time, you just have to handle the cold mentally."
Yeah.
His mental toughness allowed him to push through challenges, but even his strong will couldn't save him in the end.
Sad day. That sucks. Seemed like a good guy.
It was a cold November night in 2017 when James William Stobie, better known as Stobe the Hobo, was
I'm
out
not
doing what
familiar.
he loved, riding the rails. Stobie had become famous on YouTube for documenting his life as a modern-day train hopper, showing a dangerous world few dared to enter. His videos were more than just clips of train hopping. They were artistic, with his piano music playing in the background as he crossed vast landscapes. His commentary was dry, honest, and often humorous, providing a raw look into the risks of the lifestyle he had chosen.
Love dry
On
wit.
November 9th, 2017, Stobie was in Maryland, filming one of his latest adventures, but something went terribly wrong. Some reports say his backpack got caught on an Amtrak train,
Ooh.
dragging him to his death. Others suggest he may have fallen
think
from a
it-
bridge while trying to hop a train and ended up on the
I
track.
don't know if I've heard of this
No
or
matter the
not.
exact details, the outcome was tragic.
Yeah.
James Stobie died while pursuing his passion. Stobie was only 33 when he died.
Damn.
In those
He's
years,
5 years
he gained a loyal
younger than I
following.
am right now.
His videos were popular not only because of the danger, but also because of his unique style and eye for capturing the beauty of America
Yeah.
from a moving freight train.
That's cool.
His work
That's
had
like
the spirit of
iconic.
Depression-era hobos who rode the rails in search of a better life. For Stobie, train hopping was more than just a thrill. It was his way of rejecting a modern life he found unfulfilling.
Good.
Born to Michael and Mary Stobie in Colorado, James had always embraced an unconventional lifestyle. Friends described him as intelligent, quirky, and passionate about his interests. His videos often featured his own piano music, blending his creativity with a sense of rebellion against
That's
societal norms.
kind of
As Stobie's popularity
interesting.
grew,
Piano,
so did
like
the
being
dangers
a
he faced.
vagabond,
Train hopping is illegal and
vagrant.
risky, something he didn't
You
shy
think
away
he'd have
from
like a
discussing in his
harmonica or
videos.
guitar as something
He openly
easily
talked about close encounters with train wheels and the
transportable.
dangers of hopping while tired or
Saxophone.
drunk. In one interview, he recalled an incident where he nearly lost his life after jumping off a train while drunk and fatigued.
Sure.
Despite the risks, Stobie kept going. His fans admired him for it, and on a Facebook memorial page, one person wrote, "He died doing what he loved."
Yeah.
His
Again,
YouTube channel had nearly 11,000
We can all
subscribers,
hope to be
drawn in
so
by his
lucky.
honest, humorous, and often thrilling content. Watching Stobie ride through swamps and across plains felt like joining him on his journey. However, his death also brought attention to the real dangers of train hopping. Some speculated about how exactly he died, but the Baltimore Police Department didn't release many details. For the train
Weird.
hopping community, his death shows the risks they face. One user on Reddit warned others about the dangers, writing, "Train hopping is not glamorous or romantic. It will kill you." Stobie's death not only affected his fans, but deeply impacted his family and friends. He was a beloved son, brother, and friend, known for his humor, compassion, and love for life. His obituary described him as a person who would be remembered both for his work and the mark he left on those who knew him. Though his life was cut short, Stobie's influence didn't end with his death. His videos continued to inspire a new generation of train
That's
hoppers,
good.
like a young man from Colorado named Dancer, who began his own YouTube channel in 2020. Inspired by Stobie, Dancer also knew the dangers, but was drawn to the same thrill. The train hopping community has grown since Stobie's passing, with many trying to honor his legacy while navigating criticism for promoting a dangerous lifestyle.
Oh, he was born 2
For
years
them,
before I
like
was.
Stobie, train hopping isn't just a hobby. It's a form
He's a
of
little bit older.
self-expression
Okay.
and a connection to the past. But as Stobie's story shows, it's a way of life that can come with deadly consequences.
Shit. That's crazy. To be fair, what way of life doesn't? You know? What do we got here? There was a coaster video I wanted to watch. Did I save that? It may have been this one. I thought there was another one I had up, but whatever. Theme Park Crazy is always good.
Hey everyone, it's Peter from Theme Park Crazy.
Why does, like, how could people not like his videos? Like a dislike? Why do 8 people dislike that? I don't even know how or why. I don't get the mentality.
Crazy, and I've been doing this.
Like,
for
what about his
8
videos do
years.
people not
That
like?
is a long time, but it feels like just yesterday that I started this channel. Believe it or not, all the way back in 2017, when they announced that Stinger would be closing at Dorney Park, I had this idea of making a video where I ranked my favorite defunct coasters that I've ridden. The only problem was I really wanted it to be a top 10, but I hadn't ridden 10 defunct coasters. Nowadays, though, I've ridden more than 10, and I thought it would be fun to take a look back and rank the best defunct coasters that I've ever been on. Number 10 is Apocalypse at Six Flags America. This ride has since been turned into Firebird, and honestly, I haven't been on it, but I've heard nothing but bad things about it.
Really?
That said, I
looks
really
pretty cool.
remember enjoying Apocalypse when I first rode it. Back then, I was part of a coaster club, and we had gotten there early in the morning, and we were able to get exclusive ride time on Apocalypse, so I actually rode this a few times in a row. And honestly, for the first roller coaster that B&M has ever built, it was pretty good. I thought it had a decent layout, it was pretty smooth, and I also thought the post-apocalyptic theming around it was pretty cool. Now, it wasn't the best stand-up coaster I've ever ridden, so that one I would still have to go to Riddler's Revenge at Six Flags Magic Mountain, but it was definitely nowhere near as bad as Vortex at Carowinds. I guess just the experience of...
See, that's smart thinking. You, like, theme a coaster after the apocalypse so you don't have to clean up shit around it. You can be like, oh, that's you know, theming.
Being there early in the morning and getting to check out this ride with, like, no lines, that may have made me a bit biased towards it, but I definitely have some good memories riding this. Next up is the ride that inspired the very idea of this video, Stinger at Dorney Park. This was a Vekoma Invertigo model. This is basically just an inverted boomerang.
I like the color palette on that.
Down through a cobra roll and a vertical loop before doing the whole thing backwards. Now, what's interesting about the Invertigo model,
it's very like aquatic looking.
Either direction, so you could start off the layout going forwards or backwards. Although at the time I said that it was a bit of a quote-unquote headbanger, I've definitely ridden worse since I rode that. Honestly, I wouldn't even put it in the top 20 worst coasters I've been on. It was honestly a pretty decent ride. It had some nice G-forces, it was pretty
It looks really cool.
It was a nice little addition to the park's lineup. Since then, it's been replaced with Iron Menace, which just opened this year, so it took a while for that replacement to come. And I'll be sure to head out there and check out Iron Menace soon. But as for
I've never ridden on a coaster that's like super wide.
Unnecessary hate at the time. Another ride that I thought got some unnecessary hate was Primeval Whirl at Disney's Animal Kingdom. This was a pair of spinning Wild Mouse coasters by French manufacturer Reverchon. And I will agree, this section of the park was extremely tacky for a Disney park. It really didn't scream, this is Disney Imagineering's best.
Yeah.
It just felt like it was a victim of budget cuts. And I know that in a lot of ways it was supposed to be a tribute to the old roadside attractions, but it's one of those instances where you think, wow, Disney could have done a lot better than this. That said,
is that the We're Back movie? I've never seen that movie.
It was colorful and fun, and I really like dinosaurs like a lot of kids did.
Sure.
And when I got to ride this coaster in 2003, I honestly had a lot of fun on it. This was the first time I had ever ridden any sort of Wild Mouse coaster. Now, the main selling point of the Wild Mouse coaster is the use of hairpin turns in its layout. So when your vehicle approaches the turns,
we watched a video where somebody died on one of these. It's pretty fucking crazy.
And I definitely got this impression.
I think it was a nurse.
It felt very unpredictable, but I thought it was a fun time through and through. It's true that there are plenty of spinning Wild Mouse coasters out there, and they're not my favorite rides as of now. I mean, I'm older and I can't really spin as much without Dramamine. But as an 11-year-old, this was just one of the
I'm not giving advice on medication. Please consult your doctor before to. It's Dramamine, dude.
coasters that
Come on.
really got me interested in being an enthusiast.
Although some people
I
are really
certainly
fucking
don't regret
stupid,
riding
so
it, and a part of me
fair
actually
enough.
misses it. Now again, I completely understand why Disney is replacing this land, and hopefully the new Tropical Americas theme section will be really good. Overall though, definitely some great memories on Primeval Whirl. Number 7 is a ride that just closed this year, Scorpion at Busch Gardens Tampa. I was actually really disappointed when I found out this ride was closing. First of all, it feels like a lot of Schwarzkopf coasters have been closing lately. And that's unfortunate because I really enjoy how forceful the loops on these rides are. And second, I thought this was a cute, nice little coaster for the park. It didn't stand out compared to like Kumba or Montu or She-Ra.
Those
and it wasn't as
smaller
effective as
coasters
those
can be
rides.
pretty
It
good,
was still a
like
fun
with
little
accelerations.
appetizer for the rest of the park's lineup. Moreover, it was the first time that I did an inversion without any over-the-shoulder harnesses.
Ooh.
It really gave me a good idea of how centrifugal force works in person. And when I first rode this, I was like, wow, I'm going through a loop without anything on my shoulders. This is surreal. Yeah, thinking that may be silly nowadays, but as a 13-year-old, it was something that I had never experienced before. Definitely sad to see this ride leaving, but hopefully its replacement will be up to par. From 1 inversion to 6, we're heading to number 6, which is Vortex at Kings Island. Now, this may not have been the smoothest ride ever, but I'm still very glad I got to experience it.
Yeah.
Sure, at the time I was critical.
That is really cool looking. It's a lot of loops,
but
a lot of
over the years,
inversions.
I've developed a soft spot for these old aero coasters. With a couple of exceptions, they haven't really been that painful. Not nearly as painful enough to have me.
That's
overlook
really
the
like,
historical value
I really like how that corkscrew kind of goes between them. Almost looks like it's wound up in it.
they have. And Vortex definitely had historical value. It was the first coaster ever built to have 6 inversions, and it put Kings Island on the map. Hell, you could check out my video about Vortex in the description if you want. And to tell you the truth, I'm sure that if I went back in time right now to ride Vortex, I would probably like it a lot more than I did when I rode it in 2017.
Yeah, that looks like a really fun coaster.
A great mix of inversions, and it just had this massive epic feel to it. And aside from that, this coaster was just beautiful to look at. I actually took a few photos of it, and they're some of the best photos I've taken, in my opinion.
It's very cool.
I'm just so thankful
Theming and everything is pretty cool.
Firsthand and collect these images of it, and I feel that these
kind of looks like a Batman ride, kind of like the black and yellow.
Nowadays, we're still waiting on the.
That may not be black, but similar.
But if I could go back in time and ride this coaster, I would definitely do it at least one more time. Coming in at number 5.
The fuck was that person doing? Like, what the hell? They look, I don't even know, like there's an alien or something over there.
I would definitely do it at least one more time. Coming in at number 5 is another Kings Island coaster, Firehawk. Now, I've been fortunate enough to ride
people watching is so fun.
Flying Dutchmans ever built. And out of all of them, I honestly have to say that Firehawk was my favorite. Granted, these coasters aren't as smooth or graceful as the B&M Flyers. It was kind of odd to board the coaster.
You didn't board in a lay-down position?
But it was pretty unique and definitely.
I've never been on one like that.
Experience that I enjoyed quite a bit. Out of all of the Flying Dutchman coasters, I thought that Firehawk was easily the smoothest. And like with other flying coasters, I just love the experience of riding in a face-down position. You really
I've never been on one.
On this one. Now, this ride did close back in 2018.
Damn, that's a big drop.
Ryan, which is one of my favorite coasters ever. Unfortunately, though, Firehawk would be scrapped for good. Now, it's understandable that the remaining Flying Dutchman coasters will want the parts from this, and it's unlikely that a park would want to buy a discontinued coaster that doesn't have a lot of available parts for it. But in terms of quality, this one was definitely the best of the 3. On the subject of Ohio, we have a couple more coasters from there coming up. Yep, almost half the coasters on this list are from Ohio. And no,
they got a big turnover rate, huh?
No Rizzes either. What I will do
God
is
damn it.
introduce number 4, which is Wicked
God damn it,
Twisted
theme park
Fairy
crazy.
Tale. This was a large, massive shuttle coaster that had a very simple layout. It didn't have any inversions, and all you did was go back and forth up 2 twisting spikes of track. It seemed pretty simple, and when I
Sure.
first rode it, I didn't really appreciate it compared to the rest of the park's lineup. But absence does
Simple
make
can
a
be
heart
good.
fonder, and I actually got to ride this the year it closed in 2021. That year, I had some great rides on it. I loved how forceful the launches were. I loved getting to the top of the spike while looking down. Or
It's
looking
kind
up
of
to
like
see
our
the
Mr.
view, and
Freeze,
it felt
but
like I was enjoying
man, that would be
a piece of
so cool
history
if our
that was
Mr.
still
Freeze
around.
did that
I
like
loved getting all
twirly
sorts of photos and
um,
videos of it,
rotation
and now
at the
I
top.
have those videos and photos to use whenever I need them. I also love the fact that I went around the time they started putting up the Halloween decorations, and there was actually a dabbing skeleton statue
Jesus
in
Christ.
front of Wicked Twister, which
God damn
really
it.
summed up this
I
ride.
hate the internet.
This ride was gonna die, but it was gonna go out in style. So that was fun to check out. Sure, it was overshadowed by the rest of Cedar Point's A-list attractions.
I mean, like that's a pretty like iconic landmark too for like a what do they call it? Like a silhouette of the park. That's like a pretty standout thing.
But I
It's
will
really
be
neat.
seeing those big yellow spikes of track the next
Yeah.
time I go to Cedar Point.
And then
which
you
is
have
a
like the
really
Ferris
nice
wheel
view of
right in the middle.
skyline. And
Yep.
speaking of Cedar
Skyline.
Point, Top Thrill Dragster is number 3. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, this
Yeah.
ride is still technically standing. Well, yes, but it's
So I think other than the fuck, what is that called? The X something coaster in Japan. I keep forgetting the name of it. It's like wild. This is probably my second most wanted to ride roller coaster just because of the height.
not the same ride. I understand that Top Thrill 2 didn't exactly have the greatest opening year. It was only open for like a week and then it had to close down due to issues with the wheel, supposedly.
Yeah.
Definitely not something that the park or Zamperla wanted to happen, but unfortunately that's what happens when you go with new prototypes.
Like, there's
They're
not a
all
lot
at
to
risk
the
of
coaster, but
discontinuation.
it's so
Anyway,
fucking
when it comes to
huge.
the original Top Thrill Dragster, I did make a video, a quote failed coasters video on that ride.
Like, that shit is
That's not to say
so
this coaster
fucking,
was a
like,
failure,
tall.
unless you're
Every
different
time I
from
see
the
it.
former CEO of Cedar Fair, in which case
Wait, the way I feel right now, the worst decision we ever made was in putting that coaster in. Oh, really?
he
Oh.
agrees that it was a big mistake due to the costs and due to the downtime of the ride. And when I went to Cedar
Oh,
Point
that
for
shit
the
looks
first time
cool.
in 2018, this ride was indeed down for most of my visit. Surprisingly, though, it wasn't down as much as Millennium Force was because there
Oh,
was
you know, we need to
plenty
play
of
Parkitect and build a
I
Halloween
only
theme
got to
park.
ride Millennium
Because
Force
there's like
and
a
Top Thrill Dragster
specific
once in my 3-day trip there. But still,
skin or
once
whatever
is better
for
than
that.
none. And I have to say, this
Yeah,
ride
fuck, we should
definitely
do
lived
that.
up to the hype. I may have only ridden it once, but I remember it so well. Now, since it's closer to home, I've definitely ridden Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure more times than this. But I will agree with a lot of people in saying that Top Thrill Dragster was the superior ride experience. The
Interesting.
reason being is that while Kingda Ka had over-the-shoulder restraints, Top Thrill Dragster just had a lap bar. Yep, just a lap bar when you're going at 120
Shit.
miles per hour and cresting that massive 420-foot top hat. It was just awesome. The view you got at the top
Yeah.
of Lake Erie was unbeatable. It just felt so
That's
much
so
more
cool. That's
intense
Lake
and
Erie.
fun
Okay, I didn't know
than
that.
Kingda Ka did because of its open
That looks so
experiences.
fucking cool.
Honestly, I will really miss that intense hydraulic launch. Even though I've heard that the new magnetic launch in the week that Top Thrill 2 was open was very good as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll get Top Thrill 2 fully operational by next year and I can go down and check it out, but I'll still miss that yellow and pink version.
I really, really want to see a maglev roller coaster. I was talking about that the other night. Like, there would definitely be a huge amount of like engineering issues to work out, but the smoothness of it would be like nobody would be even close to a smooth coaster ride experience if they could do one. It probably wouldn't have any like inversions or anything. You could probably maybe do something like this. I don't know, but I'm surprised nobody's ever tried, or I mean, they probably have thought about it, right? It's just how do you? Well, no, because Japan has maglev coasters, and they go incredibly fucking fast. They go like 300 miles an hour or something. It's ridiculous.
And yes, I know that the pink track was originally red.
But they're not
First
coasters,
opened, but
trains.
I don't know. Yellow and pink.
If I
just
said
go
coasters, that
together
was
very
wrong.
well. Maybe it's like a SpongeBob and Patrick thing. I don't know. At number
Sure.
2 is a ride that's technically
Wait, what did he say about the coloring?
first open, but I don't know. Yellow and pink just go together very well.
Yellow and
Maybe
pink.
it's like a SpongeBob and Patrick thing. I don't know. At number 2 is
It's a mustard and ketchup thing, although it's not pink, it's red, but mustard and ketchup. That's why McDonald's sign is like it is. It's why Burger King sign is like it is. You have red there, you instantly think ketchup and mustard. Red and yellow.
a ride that's
It's
technically
a subliminal
also
thing.
still open, but is vastly
In and
different
out
from the
as
original,
well.
though not as much different as Top Thrill 2. And this ride is Lightning Rod at Dollywood. Originally, when this ride first opened,
Man, I want to go to
this might be a
Dollywood
Failed
so
Coasters
fucking bad.
video of this.
Oh, by the way, yeah, it's 375 miles per hour on a maglev train. That is fucking ridiculously quick. 375 fucking miles an hour. It's crazy.
Ride. It had an LSM launch system to take you up that first hill. This made it the world's only launched wooden coaster. Now,
Oh
sure, I
shit,
didn't
that's
ride
cool.
this coaster
Man, I
when it
really want to
first
go to
opened.
Dollywood.
When it first opened in 2016, they didn't turn off the launch towards the top of the hill, so you went flying over it. And this apparently caused a lot of structural issues, so they later
That sounds
adjusted the
fun.
launch so that it turned off towards the top to put
Oh.
less stress on the track, apparently. So I didn't get that big pop of airtime that a lot of people
Yeah,
praise,
it's like you're
but
thrown out of
this
it
was
nearly.
an awesome ride with that launch. You just go through the trees, across that hilly terrain. It
Oh.
really uses the terrain to its advantage. And I will say, this is one of the best terrain coasters I've ever ridden, if not the best. Now, it may not have
God,
inversions, but it's got
they look
insane,
so
I mean,
cool.
like insane, in all caps, ejector airtime. My favorite airtime moment is definitely that classic quadruple down towards the end. Like, you just get flung out of your seat over and over and over again. It's just awesome.
I think they call them
Unfortunately,
bunny
they decided
hops.
last year that the launch was too troublesome and caused too much downtime to keep around, so they have since replaced it with a high-speed chain lift. Now, I've heard a
Oh.
lot of people say that the ride as a whole is just as good as it was.
Sure.
Still, though, I will miss that launch.
Like, I love making coasters like that that take advantage of the terrain. That shit is so fucking cool to me. Because it's not, like, it's specifically unique to the place that it is. It's not like a manufactured coaster that you can put wherever once you know everything's cleared out. To build on the terrain is just, I don't know why I like it so much, but it's so fucking awesome.
It really made this ride stand out. That's not to say that, oh, it's terrible without the launch, but I still really admired it as a unique innovation.
Yeah.
It didn't go that well considering the ride's downtime, but still, you really gotta give credit to RMC for trying something new. But now, let's move on to
Number one. Yep, he's right about that. This is the one that I always like fucking blow my load over because I got to ride in this one, the Dueling Dragons. This was, I think it got moved, I guess, to Islands of Adventure. I wrote it at Universal Studios in 10th grade, I think. We went there for band. I got to march in a like a Disney World parade, and it was like really cool. I always say this; it's like one of my go-to stories. But while we were changing in the back lots to do the parade, I saw Snow White smoking a cigarette. It was amazing. Completely destroyed my childhood and any kind of thread that I had left linked to it. But hey, it was very funny looking back on it, and I get to tell that story like all the fucking time because I like theme parks. But Dueling Dragons is so fucking good.
Number 1, and this is definitely my favorite of the
Yep.
bunch. Dueling Dragons at Islands of Adventure. Wow, I mean, I gotta say, when I first rode this in 2003, I was blown away.
Was I? No, that was 02 for me, not 03. I'm like, oh my god, did I ride this with them? Yeah, that's Universal. Okay, I didn't know it was called Islands of Adventure.
I had never been on a ride that dueled to the extent that this one did. It was also my first ever B&M inverted coaster, so I got to
It's
experience
so
having nothing
fucking
like my feet
cool.
for the first time ever. The way the two trains interacted with each other when
It's
this
so
ride played
fucking
and the
cool.
flyby effects, those were just awesome. As was the moment with
Yeah.
the two vertical loops, where it looks like you're about to crash
Yeah,
head-on
you go
into
like
the other
that.
train, but you just go up and upside down just before you
Yep.
hit them. And aside from those moments, I never experienced a ride with inversions this intense before.
There's not
I've
one.
been on the Incredible
It's
Hulk at
amazing.
Central Park, and that does have more inversions, but the inverted trains made the inversions feel a lot more intense. I can actually remember when I got off the ride for the first time, I took a look at the track and saw the insane twists it was doing, and I was literally like, did I do that? Eventually, when this whole area was rethemed to Hogsmeade, this
Yeah.
ride became Dragon Challenge, and at first, it did still duel. I actually
Yeah.
remember getting a dueling ride on it in early 2011. But around that same time, there was this really bad injury where apparently a shoe fell off of someone's foot and hit a guy in the face and caused him to lose his eyeball. And the
Oh,
park and
shit.
its insurance provider realized that it was too dangerous to keep around with the risk of loose items falling onto other guests.
That's so fucking
unfortunately, they
dumb.
had to disable the dueling feature.
I didn't know
Up
that's
until
why.
2017,
I thought it was because I have like looked into this quite a bit. Well, not as much as clearly as I should have, but I didn't know that's why it shut down. I thought it shut down from just like wear and tear and technical difficulties and stuff. I had no idea. A motherfucker lost his shoe and now we don't get to ride the coaster in its dueling form. Coaster's actually completely gone now as I understand it.
it operated as two separate coasters, which were still fun, but nowhere near as fun as when it had that dueling feature.
Also, it's very critical to point out that the dueling stuff, like each like the fire and ice dragon or whatever, they were two completely like different experiences. It wasn't like a symmetry mirror thing. I mean, you know, obviously some parts, but like as a whole, they were two like completely different track layouts.
I can actually remember my last ride. It was in 2017, and I had ridden the Chinese fireball part, the red track, and then shortly after I got off the ride, or a while after, I think the line was really long, so I went to do other things, and then I came back later. But when I came back, it started just pouring rain. And unfortunately, I decided that I couldn't stick around and I had to leave the park because it was almost closing time.
Sad.
So I was going to have to pass on that coaster for the day. But something in me told me that I had to experience that coaster before I left. And even though my
Good
flight
man.
was the next day,
I completely remember this. It wasn't Hogwarts themed, but that is still like the gateway where you go in. Like I 100% remember. And also, whenever you came out behind him, I don't know if it was there with the Harry Potter thing. I imagine they changed it, but behind him was a huge like dining area or whatever, and it was inside the stump of like an incredibly huge tree. Like if you played Zelda, like the Deku tree, that's exactly what it looked like. But it was a restaurant. It was so fucking cool. It's like a highlight of my life.
I actually
loved
bought
it.
another ticket to come back and ride the Hungarian Horntail part. And that would end up being my last ride on this coaster, so I'm really glad I did that in hindsight.
Good.
Now, will
I am
agree
too. I
that
envy him.
Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure is a very worthy successor, an amazing coaster, incredible theming.
Sure,
I'll always
but
have, you know, a
Yeah.
longing for Dragon Challenge. or
you're never
rather,
gonna
Dueling
see
Dragons
another
or
coaster
Dueling
like
Dragons.
this, probably.
This was the best defunct coaster I've ever ridden by
Yeah.
far. Now it's
He's
time for
right.
the comment shout out program.
Yeah, shit. Damn, that takes me back. Got some memories with that one. Let's see. I thought he had another one that I wanted to watch that I didn't get to the other night. Maybe not. I swear to God I had one saved though. Maybe it was that one. Let's see. Got the compilation videos, Dark Ride, The Mine of Lost Souls. We haven't watched that one yet. I'm down. I'm in a theme parky mood this morning.
Hey everyone, it's
This
Steven
night,
from
I don't
Theme
know.
Park Crazy, back again with another unscripted video. Now for those of you who have missed my recent community post, I'm currently working on a video
The fuck
about
is that?
the 10 most disturbing dark rides. Some of these dark rides I've discussed
It looks like a like an aborted fetus or something. Holy shit, that's nightmare fuel.
before, but most of them I haven't. And one of these dark rides that I haven't discussed before is called The Mine of Lost Souls at Canopy Lake Park in New Hampshire. By the way, I will link the finalists in the description. I have narrowed this poll down to 10, and those finalists will be in the description if you want to either change your vote or vote if you haven't voted before.
This was 7 months ago,
But
so
for this particular ride,
probably
Mine of
not
Lost
happening.
Souls, I started writing a segment about it for the video, and it just went on and on and on because I had so much to say about this ride. And to be honest,
What
this
the
ride
fuck?
is
What is that stock footage?
to say about this ride.
How hard is it to like just actually type? It's like the kids playing video games in like in sitcoms or TV shows and they're just like mashing buttons and doing that.
Ride. And to be honest, this ride is probably the most bizarre dark ride I have ever seen. Now, I have been to Canopy Lake Park
Dude, that guy is high as shit. Didn't know animatronics could get high, but look, we're learning new things.
before. I went all the way
We are
back to
learning new things.
But I was more focused on roller coasters at the time. My channel mainly focused on roller coasters, so I didn't bother riding it, and I really should have. But right now, I want to discuss this ride and walk you through
Ooh, it's Old Mech.
because, honestly, I'm not sure what the designers were thinking when they made it, and I don't mean that in a bad way. This is a solid-looking dark ride, but I don't think I was prepared for how just insane this thing is. Now, whether or not it's the most disturbing dark ride of the 10 in the poll, I mean, that's up to you. I don't want you to think that just because
It is
I'm
Old
giving
Mech.
this ride its own video
Sorry.
is the most disturbing of the bunch, but it's definitely, I think, the strangest. So first of all, there's the
All right.
backstory behind it, which they do have a sign giving you the story. Now, according to the backstory, these two brothers, and I'm assuming they're brothers because they have the same last name, Billy and Bobby Hollander. So these two
Sure.
brothers go into a cavern in New Hampshire, they find gold, and this starts an all-new mining company called the Policy Mining Company. So a few years later...
Wait, what? Hold on. In early 1891, two boys from Salem, Bobby and Billy Hollander, discovered gold in a cavern by Canopy Lake. The same summer, the Policy Mining Co. was founded. The new mine soon became famous for its boundless riches and beauty. Suddenly, in 1895, the two boys disappeared. Many others have disappeared since. Ooh, you got some, like, analog horror seeds, maybe? According to the legend, there are hidden passageways deep in the mine, some leading to a place from which few escape. A place where souls are captured and have traveled or entrapped by the evil Grim Reaper himself. I just killed that motherfucker in Castlevania, like multiple times over multiple Castlevanias. I guess he does come back. Fair enough. Where was I? Making stupid jokes. Enter if you dare, but beware. If you venture too far, you too will be trapped forever in the mine of lost souls.
Company called
Spooky.
the Policy Mining Company. So a few years later, the two boys go missing in the cavern, and a legend starts about
No,
how
he's-
if you go
okay.
deep into the cavern, you'll come across the Grim Reaper, who will take your soul. Now,
Sure.
I'm not sure why the
I didn't
Grim
know he'd go
Reaper
through
is
all of it.
hanging around
Sorry.
in a cavern. I mean, if I was the Grim Reaper, I would
Mhm.
be hanging around in Florida. I mean,
Hell yeah.
tons of older tourists and retirees there.
Nah, man, you can't, like, you wouldn't want to go to Florida. It's a bunch of old people that are about to die and a bunch of fucking morons that are, like, wrestling alligators and driving with their dicks out the window and he gets cut off and they lose blood and then that's how they die. That's way too much work for a Grim Reaper. Nah, dude, stay far away. Let, like, one of the other Reapers at it. It's way too much fucking work.
Sunshine beaches, theme parks. I mean, if I was the Grim Reaper, I would be living in Florida. But I guess this Grim Reaper doesn't really care about that. He just wants to live in a cold, dark cavern. Anyway, so that's the story.
Just chilling.
You're gonna go toe to toe with the Grim Reaper and escape his clutches, and it seems simple, but this ride, it's much crazier than that. So starting off,
Okay.
you get in this minecart, which holds 4 people, and you start off the ride and
Or 2 Americans.
immediately you're met with this animatronic miner who's basically welcoming you to the mine. I can't talk. And he's
Nobody
telling his
can.
coworker who's about to
Nobody can
blast
theme
a
park
hole
crazy.
in the mine to not blast that hole, not to blow anything up yet.
I wonder if they
because
blow it up.
There's friends and all here. And so the coworker is like, "What did
Sure.
you say?" And the miner's like, "There's friends and all here." And the coworker is like, "Oh, all clear." That's funny, I'll admit.
Okay.
So they blow the hole in the mine, and a boulder almost comes down and crushes the minecart. And there's this cool little detail on this boulder. If you look closely, you could see 2 glow-in-the-dark handprints on this boulder. I don't know if this was accidental, like one of the designers accidentally got glow-in-the-dark paint on his hands and touched the boulder, but there's also a chance that this represents somebody was previously crushed by this boulder and tried to stop it with their hands. So if that's the case, this is a cool little feature.
Or they're, like, getting helped along their adventure by the people that perished before.
Moving on, you then enter the mine, and there's this cheerful song playing in the background. This cheerful, like, country folk song playing in the background. And
Whiskey
it sounds
glasses.
cheerful.
Let's go. Get Morgan Wallen on that shit.
But if you really listen to
It was
the
okay.
lyrics,
It's kind of a
there's something that
kind of a
sticks out.
bop.
There's a lyric that says, now, a lot of people may not be listening
Got a little
to the song at this point, but this
little devil went down to Georgia vibe. You heard that violin right in the background, or fiddle? Excuse me. It's a fiddle. I have one. It's a fiddle when you buy it, but it's a violin when you sell it. Right. And I'm god awful at it.
Now, a lot of people may not be listening to the song at this point, but this is some pretty clever foreshadowing. So, aside from the song, once you enter the mine, you'll see a few animatronic miners. The first of which is operating, I'm not sure what this is, I think it's some kind of coal-powered furnace with a whistle on top. I'm not sure what the purpose of this is.
To blow the whistle for the coal. Coal heats up, whistle blows. What's there to get?
I don't really know anything about mining. If you want to comment down below. But after this, you'll see a man in a minecart come out towards your vehicle. And this isn't really a jump scare because you can see him from pretty far away. But his face, something about his face is really unsettling. I don't know.
Is too high. Right? Facial proportions, like the eyes should be right here. I should be in the middle of the head, not near the top. That's why whenever people draw or attempt to draw people, they always look really fucking odd. That's why. You'd think like, oh, the top of the head, like the cranium is way too big, but it's not whenever you add hair. Anyway,
I don't know
useful
how old these figures
information,
are,
maybe.
but the face that this miner has it gives a kind of an ominous feeling. So then, on your right, you'll see another miner playing chess with a skeleton. Now,
Sure.
this miner is apparently named Jasper, and
Do
he
people
refers
not
to
do
the
that?
skeleton as Jake. So, I'm gonna guess that this is like some dark humor, as in Jake waited so long for Jasper to make his move that Jake literally starved to death and died and turned into a skeleton. So at this point,
Yeah, I literally post that meme all the time.
the ride seems to be using dark humor to kind of transition you into the more spooky segments. And this is followed by a demented looking smiling miner holding a stick of dynamite who apparently blows himself up. Now I don't know if he accidentally blew himself up or if the Grim Reaper or the devil possessed him to blow himself up, but either way, some more dark humor. And not coincidentally enough,
Sure.
right after this, you'll come across the waterfall that the song referred to. And the waterfall opens up, you go through it. So after going through the waterfall, you'll see a jump scare of flashing
Ooh,
eyes on a
epilepsy.
skull on the wall. Basically, the Grim Reaper telling you you're in my territory now. After this, you'll go through some rocks, and a miner will be there telling you, don't go any further, don't go here. And
I
then
wonder
there's
if they're
this
gonna go
really
there.
cool Pepper's Ghost effect. And with this, the miner apparently turns into the Grim Reaper. Now, it's unknown if the Grim Reaper
That's
was
pretty
disguising
dope.
himself as this miner, or if the Grim Reaper stole the miner's soul right then and there. But the Grim Reaper says, it's too late to back out, you're mine now. So then you come across this bloody looking door and you enter a mausoleum. And you can tell because of the slots on
Sure.
the wall. And you can also see a
Duh.
miner lowering in a fresh casket. But you can see one of the drawers on the wall, you could see two skeleton arms reaching up to grab the casket.
Damn, I can't
Now,
find
I
that
don't know
meme.
if the skeleton is trying to help
God damn
lower
it.
the casket into the mausoleum. In that case, he's a pretty helpful skeleton. But after this, you get
They are
sort of like a
helpful.
plot twist where you actually see the tomb of the aforementioned Hollander brothers. And their
Okay.
ghosts appear in the tomb and basically evilly laugh and say, "We have new friends to play with." Now, at this point, my question is,
How come like ghosts are always like creepy and shit?
why are
Why
they
does it gotta be
suddenly
that way?
evil?
Casper,
Are they
I guess,
working
isn't.
with the Grim Reaper to capture souls, or is this an illusion from the Grim Reaper? And also, there's a
Nah, it's Stockholm syndrome. Reaper got him, and now they're like allied with the Reaper.
skeleton chained to
I
the
imagine.
wall. So this is apparently a dungeon. So why was somebody being held in that dungeon? Who
Why
was
not?
chained to the wall? And why were they chained to the wall? This is pretty much up to interpretation.
Sure.
But here's where things get crazy. Here's where things get weird.
This is like incredibly intricate narrative for a fucking dark roller coaster ride. It's not even a coaster, just, an experience. I gotta give it to him.
All of a sudden,
All right.
without any warning or indication, you're inside of a tomb in ancient Egypt. There's a death mask on the wall that says you're in the Valley of the Doomed and to beware the Pharaoh's curse. I was under the impression that we were supposed to be in a mine in New Hampshire.
Not anymore.
What does ancient Egypt have to do with New Hampshire? Unless there are pyramids in New Hampshire that I'm unaware of. If you're from New Hampshire, feel free to comment down below. And you turn around and suddenly there's a mummy and there's two cobras and the mummy is evilly laughing at you, bursting out of his sarcophagus. And after this, you go back to the mine. There's no mention of why you're in ancient Egypt. It just comes
Magic.
suddenly you're in Egypt and
a wizard did it.
You're not. So once you're back in the mine, you find the lost souls that the title of the ride mentioned. Now these souls
That's pretty fucking cool.
Are all over the walls, and honestly, this is a very creepy visual. Now, these don't look like human faces. They look like mummified emojis with eyeballs, some with eyeballs, some without. Honestly, you might get hungry looking at these because they...
God damn it, theme park. You fucking... I'm never not gonna think of that if I ever watch this again, or ever see a ride through of this again.
Kind of look like the McCain smiley face fries that you get at the grocery store. But obviously they're not
God damn
smiling,
it.
they're shocked and frightened because they're lost souls. So there's a bunch of lost souls behind bars, and then the Grim Reaper pops up and jump scares you. Then you turn around, and there's even more souls on the wall, and for some
That's
reason,
cool.
there is a swordsman who kind of looks like a pirate. Now, this swordsman is headless, and he is
Sure.
apparently holding his own head, and
Right.
his head is alive, and it's laughing. Also, there's two other heads next to him, so apparently he chopped their heads off, and then he chopped his own head off.
Maybe we have a situation where we have that boss in Zelda 2. And I guess there are other bosses in Zelda where you have to like hit their head and it comes off and it just kind of flies around being annoying. And then it grows another one, like the main entity.
Now, my only question is, why did he chop his own head off? Now, I'm assuming that the Grim Reaper made him do this, just like the Grim Reaper made that miner at the beginning blow himself up. But overall, this is just another crazy moment that really doesn't really have anything to do with the ride. Why is there a swordsman in a mine?
Why not?
Why is there a pirate in this mine?
Why not?
And before anyone can answer that, the Grim Reaper apparently decides to blow up the mine. There's a bunch of explosives. He lights them. There's an explosion. The roof caves in.
Oh no.
And apparently you survive all this because then the ride just ends. Overall, this ride is just a strange but very interesting experience. The best way I can describe it is that it's like a bad dream where you go from one place to another where things...
So wait, like the Grim Reapers, I'm trying to get the narrative right. Boys go in there, they find something, get lost, die, whatever, and then the Grim Reaper makes the dude at the beginning blow up the wall. So like the Grim Reaper can get more, I guess, souls or something. But then why would the Grim Reaper blow everything up? Like at the end. That narrative point I'm not quite understanding, and I know I'm getting way too deep into this.
Start to really not make sense, but there's still an overall theme of danger with disturbing visuals. And the fact that it takes place underground gives it kind of a claustrophobic feeling that works to its advantage, because it adds to the danger. But yeah, this is the kind of bad dream that you would get from A, eating chocolate before bed, or B, your AC not really working that well and you having to sleep in the heat. Now, I know that this ride was made by
Mr.
the famous
Krabs?
Sally Dark Rides, who have made some of the top dark rides in the industry. I mean, aside from Disney and Universal, Sally is pretty much the top of the dark rides food chain.
Why are we
And by
looking
the
at
end of this
Mr.
dark ride,
Krabs?
you're pretty much left with more questions than answers. If it was meant to be like a bad dream, then definitely mission accomplished. But if not, then I'm really wondering where the whole ancient Egypt scenario came
The lore.
from. I'm wondering who thought of the
Don't go down the
swordsman
rabbit
line.
hole.
And who thought up the plot? Like, was there behind-the-scenes storyboard session of what they wanted to do with this ride? Or
I mean,
did
they
just
would have
kind of
to, right?
have fun with it and do whatever?
Yeah.
For this reason, for all these reasons,
So what I think they need to do here with the Wailing Wall or whatever, they need to replace that with LCD panels. And what they need to do is have like a very proper jump scare. And then you take a picture of the person and then send it through AI to like make them look dead and then put it on there. So like the people that ride become a part of this experience, like on the wall. I think that'd be fucking great. I guess there's probably some kind of legal bullshit, like, I don't know, but still, cool idea. I like it. I like my
this
idea.
is probably the most fascinating dark ride I've seen. Like, there's so much mystery behind it. There's so many questions that are unanswered. And apparently, fittingly enough, Stephen King, the famous author Stephen King,
Ooh.
actually rode this ride and used it and Canopy Lake Park as a whole as inspiration for his book Joyland. And this is especially fitting because if you're
Cool.
aware of the works of Stephen King, this is basically like a Stephen King book, this whole ride.
Yeah,
You've got some
yeah.
genuinely disturbing moments mixed in with some bizarre moments that seem to come out of left field. This ride is basically a Stephen King dark ride, and that is just
That's pretty
awesome.
cool.
Now,
Yeah.
if you know anything about the story behind this ride, or if you have any sources about its development, feel free to let me know in the comments below. That all said, be sure to vote in my poll for
Yeah.
the most disturbing dark ride. And that all said, this is Peter from Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you soon.
That's interesting. You could easily morph that into a Castlevania like ride if you really wanted to. It would be very minimal effort. Oh god. What happened? Okay. No, that was cool. Let's see. Failed roller coasters, ridiculous rumors, new for 2024. Ooh. Failed drop tower. I read the worst roller coaster article ever. AI generated. Hold on, let's see this one. I'll bite.
Last thing you want
I have not watched.
in the title often carries a big risk. That's why I wanted to challenge myself to make a video
Oh, shit.
worthy of such a title. To do
Sorry.
this, I sought help from the Twitter account Crazy Ass Moments in Theme Park History.
Am I
This page
following them?
specializes in crazy amusement and theme park moments that actually happened. And with the help of my viewers, I've compiled a top 15 list of some of the most insane roller coaster facts out there. Now we're going to be discussing plenty
Okay.
of unbelievable facts and moments in this video. You know what else is
Let me think. I like to make predictions whenever I watch shit like this. I don't really have a lot, but I wonder if they're going to mention the Fabio incident. Because they had this, I forgot what it was called, but it's almost exactly like the Batman ride we have here. It's like a hanging down coaster. Anyway, a very similar one opened up somewhere else at another Six Flags, and Fabio, like, I don't know, Fabio, what is he doing these days? Anyway, he wrote it, like the very first, like, inaugural whatever wrote, and so he went out, and as he, you know, does the coaster, whatever, and it comes back around, he has, like, this fucking bruised, bleeding face, and apparently he hit a fucking bird. Like on the coaster, slammed into it. Like nobody knew what the fuck happened. Imagine him like getting on there and going out the you know, the exit to do the coaster and then coming back face completely fucked up.
It's unbelievable. Enjoying a delicious bowl of cereal with 0 grams of sugar.
Don't
All thanks
don't buy
to
it,
this
man.
video
No,
sponsor,
don't do it.
Magic Spoon.
Don't do it.
Remember being a kid watching cartoons on a Saturday morning?
Way
with a
too
bowl of sweet
overpriced.
Cereal? I sure do. But as an adult, finding a cereal that's both tasty and healthy can be a challenge.
And cheap?
Admittedly, I've been aiming to watch my
Cheap?
sugar intake after moving into a new apartment. That's where Magic Spoon comes in. Magic Spoon is a cereal that's specially made to taste like some of your biggest nostalgic favorites. Not only is it delicious, but it's also high in protein, keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and has 0 sugar. Specifically, we're talking 13 to 14 grams of protein,
Yeah.
0 grams of sugar, and just 4 to 5 grams of net carbs.
While good, I would like to point out down here, it's kind of obscured, the net weight is 7 ounces. And these cost about $9 or $10. And you, I don't know, if they're, I think they may be in Walmart, but if you like buy it from them, you have to buy it in packs of 4, I'm pretty sure. So you're spending $40 on cereal. And keep in mind, net weight's 7 ounces. If you go to Walmart or any other cereal and compare, you get almost more, well, no, you get more than double that, because they're usually like 16-ounce boxes. And it costs like $4 compared to the 10. This shit is way too expensive.
With ingredients like milk protein and naturally occurring allulose, you can enjoy a
Oh, I
wholesome
love
meal without
allulose.
sacrificing taste. Moreover, Magic Spoon has plenty of flavors to choose from: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter, along with even more like honey nut, birthday cake, cinnamon roll, and chocolate chip cookie. On top of all of that is Magic Spoon's new cereal treats. If you're craving a
Okay,
mid-afternoon
how much are
snack,
those?
These are just what you're looking for. Sweet and satisfying. All with 11 grams of protein and just 1 gram of sugar.
I don't know how much
Plus,
those
they come in
cost.
2 delicious flavors, marshmallow and chocolatey peanut butter. Ready to try
Sure.
Magic Spoon yourself? Click the link in the
Nope.
description or scan the QR code on the screen and use the promo code CRAZY for $5 off your own custom box. Magic Spoon offers a 100% happiness guarantee, so if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money with no questions
It
asked.
costs too
Plus, for my
goddamn
friends in
much.
the UK and Canada, Magic Spoon ships to you as well. So start the new year right and grab yourself a box of Magic Spoon today. Now let's get on with the video.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Number 15. Thorpe Park Body Odor. The last thing you want in your Thorpe Park roller coaster is someone's armpit odor. But as it turns out,
is he
that
talking
might
like
be
that?
what you get. Alright, I'm not going to go through the whole video doing a Chills impression, but anyway. Did you know that England's Thorpe
I
Park
don't-
faced a rather unusual issue with its
Inside
roller
joke.
coasters in the late 2000s? Believe it or not, a common complaint among guests at the time was the body odor of other park goers.
Yep.
Thorpe Park officials took these concerns seriously, so in 2009, they implemented a policy that banned visitors from raising their arms on roller coasters.
That's the craziest shit I've ever heard pertaining to a theme park.
In doing this, the park hoped to tackle the complaints about BO, especially on hot days. To enforce this rule, officials put signs
Oh,
up
God.
everywhere, instructing visitors to keep their arms down. Ride operators were on high alert as well, warning people of this new policy. And they weren't afraid to enforce it either. Any park guest who was caught raising their arms would be kicked off the ride, and those who insisted on doing so anyway would find themselves getting kicked out of the park. Naturally,
Holy shit, they're going nuclear on them for having fun. Like, how do you ride a coaster and not raise your arms? It's like half of the experience.
the public reacted to this rule with immense amusement, followed immediately by, "You're serious?" Now, I wasn't able to find any more information about this policy, but considering that I've seen people on YouTube raising their hands on rides at the park, it's unlikely that the policy is still in place.
Sure.
Number 14, the dismembered dummy stunt. That's 2 Thorpe Park entries in a row here. This time, it involves a failed marketing stunt. In particular, this was meant to promote the park's Bolliger and Mabillard wing coaster, The Swarm. Thorpe Park was
Looks
on a
pretty
roll
fun.
when it came to edgy and unorthodox marketing campaigns at the time, and the one for The Swarm was no different. Shortly before its opening in 2012, a rather bizarre incident seemed to occur during a test run.
Sure.
Run, not one, I'm not Elmer Fudd. According
It's hard to speak sometimes.
to officials, a set of dummies returned from their test ride with
Not for me,
dismembered
though.
limbs. Talk about costing an arm and a leg. This was apparently due to a collision with a faux church along the ride's layout. It was as if God himself hated this coaster and everything about it.
Yep.
But this wasn't exactly the case. As it turned out, this was all a big fat promotional stunt designed to make the ride seem even more scary and exciting. The whole dummy debacle was staged, and it was meant to give an extra fear factor to the ride's near-miss moment.
Did they
at the
fuck
scene.
themselves?
It was certainly creative, but to Thorpe Park's disappointment, the stunt supposedly backfired.
Yeah.
As it turned
Yeah.
out, the Swarm would end up being a commercial disappointment for Thorpe Park.
There
Though
it is.
whether or not the dummy stunt contributed to it is pretty much unknown. It would be 12 years before another major coaster was installed. Fortunately, in 2024, park fans can look forward to Hyperia, a record-breaking
Cool.
ride that represents a return to glory for Thorpe Park. Number 13,
Hyperia,
Electric
huh?
Shock Kids Coaster. Here's another wild one for you. A few years ago, Chinese manufacturer Henan Dini's was aiming to promote their new Shark Coaster model. Now, the Shark Coaster is a type of children's powered coaster.
Yeah.
For those unfamiliar, powered coasters use electrical current from the rails to propel the ride vehicle through the course. In this case, they wanted to make a video promoting the ride model to potential buyers. But this promo turned out to be absolutely embarrassing. The video they ended up releasing shows the coaster sparking like crazy while in operation. You can actually see
It's
a
fine.
shower of sparks coming off the wheels with electric flashes.
fine.
The
It's
whole
fine.
thing looks like it's about to go up in flames.
Don't worry about it.
Sure, nobody
It'll be
was
alright.
on board, but it's a whole nother level of incompetence to publicly showcase what looks like a malfunctioning ride as if everything is normal. It's hard to imagine anyone at Hanandini saying, yeah, we want the world to see this video. Let's
That's
put it
pretty
on
funny.
our website. Here's the real kicker though. Hanandini's has apparently gotten flack from buyers for its poor quality shipments. So much so that a Hungarian amusement park owner registered the company's name as a website just to showcase the condition of a flying car ride he ordered. This webpage shows the extent of the ride's condition, including cracks.
That's pretty fucking funny that somebody took the webpage and like whatever attacked him. That is fucking hilarious.
Loose parts, corrosion, exposed wiring, and worst of all, no electrical grounding. Without grounding, anyone who operates or rides this is dangerously susceptible to electric shock.
Yep.
I'll put a link to the website in the description, along with some videos of the ride's damage. Number 12, a meat processing plant coaster. We've
The
covered
fuck?
strange sponsorships before on this channel, but this one takes the cake, or rather, takes the steak. I apologize.
God damn it.
Anyway, this coaster is currently operating at a Russian amusement park named Wonder Island. This ride is named Belokoluski Мясокомбинат, which translates to English as, no joke,
All right.
Belokoluski Meat Processing Plant. This coaster is in fact
Ooh.
named and themed to the Belokoluski brand of meat products. This company mainly manufactures sausages, though they also offer salted pork fat, dumplings, and more. As for the roller
My
coaster,
kinda shit.
its station features a mural of smiling sausages wearing sunglasses, alliterations for the win.
I mean, do they not know?
And it even features a sausage stuffing machine. The ride even starts off with a short dark ride section through a meat processing plant before the magnetic launch. After the launch though, there's not much meat to this coaster's theming, pun intended. Aside from the odd theme and name, the layout itself is not original at all. In fact, it's an exact copy of the famous Blue Fire roller coaster at Germany's Europa Park.
Cool.
This coaster has been cloned several times over the years, but the meat processing one certainly has the most unusual theme.
Yeah,
What's really
weird.
crazy though is that this isn't the only meat processing coaster at Wonder Island. Just 2 years after the original debuted, the park opened Belokoluski Meat Processing Plant
What
2.
the f-
Yes, they
what?
went the roller coaster tycoon route and simply put the number 2 at the end. While the coaster itself is different from the first, it too is a cloned ride known as an Intamin 10 inversion coaster. If you live in
Okay.
the UK, you can ride an exact copy
I love those parts of the track. What are they called? Like Cobra rolls?
at Flamingo Land under the name Sick, or is it Seek? Well, that's enough talk of Russian meat coasters for now, but don't worry, because we're not even halfway done with this list. Just a quick warning though, this next segment may be too risque for some. Number 11, coaster condoms. Yes, coaster
Hell yeah.
condoms. This marketing strategy came from a partnership between Alton Towers
All
and
right.
condom brand Durex. The earliest example came with the opening of the
I actually
world's
think
first
I've heard
vegan
of this
dive
one
coaster,
before.
Oblivion in 1998. This coaster's condoms were both lubricated and orange flavored, with the ride slogan, "Don't look down" on the box.
Oh my god.
But that wasn't all for the UK's
What?
venture into the coaster condom market. Over at Thorpe Park, the Intimate Accelerator Stealth
It's
had
a
its own
lucrative
specialty
market,
box of
I'm
condoms.
sure.
This box proudly advertised the ride as hard, fast, and up in seconds. Now, as awkward as it is for me to talk about condoms on what's usually a
I gotta
favorite
write it now.
channel, discussing safe sex should be nothing to be ashamed about. No joke, it literally saves lives, and everyone involved with this campaign deserves praise. Admittedly,
Sure.
digital audiences
I mean,
in the
yeah,
United
fair
States
enough.
and YouTube's content policies in general can be pretty anal about this subject. But perhaps we could all learn a lesson here. With that said, I still
That was completely deliberate that he used the word anal.
need to pay the
100%.
rent, so I'm gonna move on before YouTube demonetizes this video. Number 10, Polar Express's Gravity Group collaboration. Remember the Polar Express movie? Who hasn't?
Yep.
It's a Christmas
Weird
classic
people.
filled with Yuletide charm and a whimsical journey into the uncanny valley. One of the
Yeah,
film's
there
most
it is.
memorable scenes is when a cotter pin comes loose, sending the titular train into a high-speed runaway route to the North Pole. This scene was designed to make audiences feel like they're on a roller coaster, and this effect wasn't just achieved with filmmaking alone. Turns out that director Robert Zemeckis and producer Stephen Boyd actually contacted officials at American design firm Gravity Group. This company is known for acclaimed wooden coasters like the Voyage and Wooden Warrior. This company specializes in designing wooden roller coasters, particularly ones with jubilant airtime moments. And for this film, they aim
Bunny
to
hop.
give the literal polar coaster just that. According to an article on Coaster101.com, the guys from the Gravity Group were able to apply their wooden coaster expertise to make sure that the final product was realistic and provided audiences with plenty of airtime. It's worth noting that this movie has actually been released in IMAX 3D. Without a doubt, the idea of writing a...
I wonder if they have like a program. I'm sure they do. But like where you can load in coasters on VR and, you know, ride them essentially. They must have that, right?
Gravity Group roller coaster in a movie theater sounds like a cinema experience truly worth the money. Though I still wouldn't pay $5 for a Dasani.
Yeah,
I'd
fuck
get
that.
an Evian at the grocery store for less. Now just imagine how awesome
paying
a
for
Polar
water
Express would be. Now that would be a perfect fit for any Santa's Village park. Number 9, Montu's Crocodile Pit. First opening in 1996, Montu at Florida's Busch Gardens Tampa is often hailed as the best inverted roller coaster of all time. With its sprawling layout, exhilarating inversions, and well-timed underground dives, this coaster is well worth its acclaim.
I like
Aside
that.
from the layout itself, the theming is what truly makes this coaster a one-of-a-kind experience. Nestled in the park's Egypt section, Montu is, appropriately enough, surrounded by various Egyptian-themed scenic elements. Upon its opening, one of these elements was a real-life animal encounter. Yep, this coaster opened with a Nile crocodile exhibit right under the first turn out of the station.
I can't imagine that's too healthy for the crocodiles. Like, they are probably stressed as shit. I don't know, maybe not.
Just think about how crazy an actual crocodile pit under a roller coaster sounds. I can imagine a lot of people freaking out over having their feet dangling above these animals. It certainly was a unique feature, and it really
you get that death roll,
but it
right?
was kind of problematic. This feature was reportedly removed due to concerns that shoes and other loose objects from riders could fall into the crocodiles below. While it was somewhat of a bummer to see this feature removed, it was ultimately for the better. If you were a crocodile, would you want to be subjected to falling flip-flops, sneakers, chewed gum, and pocket change raining down you all day?
Probably wouldn't
care.
care.
Great Gorilla Monsoon, highly unlikely. Crocodile Pit or no Crocodile Pit though, this coaster is still 100% worth riding. Number 8, the Flying Dinosaurs 12.5 hour listed wait. In 2016, Universal Studios Japan opened perhaps the greatest flying coaster of all time. At $92 million,
cool.
This massive coaster clearly shows its price tag and is an instant eye-catcher for visitors. Just one look at this beast is enough to make you bolt for the entrance, and that's exactly what happened on its opening day on March 18th, 2016. Naturally, the line was insanely long that day, but just how long the park said it was came as a shock to guests. The maximum wait time displayed was 12 and a half hours. What the hell? You could drive from Washington, D.C. to Orlando in less time than that. But though this listed wait time was confirmed by bloggers, the actual story behind it is a bit more nuanced. That day, the park opened at 8 a.m. and people immediately rushed to the coaster. Just 20 minutes after opening, the entrance to the line had already closed due to the overwhelming number of guests. Meanwhile, the ride's crew was still getting used to operating it, so loading, unloading, and dispatching naturally took more time. And as if that weren't enough, there was rain forecasted for the afternoon.
Oh shit, okay,
With
like
all
a
this
perfect
in mind,
storm kind of
The park
thing.
had to keep the queue shorter than its full
Fair enough.
capacity. So they reportedly inflated the wait time in an attempt to take all of these factors into account. Many guests who attended the grand opening said they didn't actually wait for 12 and a half hours. But that didn't mean nothing crazy happened that day.
Sure.
Apparently, some people actually got injured. Not on the ride, mind you, but in the queue. With so many people rushing to get on at once, this resulted in some
trampling.
injuries. A few people were even stepped on. Thankfully, it wasn't
There it is.
anything too serious, but it was still a scary situation. As for the ride itself, it remains an acclaimed attraction, with many saying it's the best ride at the park. But would you wait 12 and a half hours for it? Number 7,
Hell no.
Shockwave was ridden backwards. Now let's shift gears a bit to talk about a notable aspect of the roller coaster world, coaster clubs. These groups of coaster enthusiasts arrange special group visits to parks around the globe.
That's really
often
cool.
directly with the parks themselves. As
I
a
wanna
coaster
be
club
in.
member, you can get some awesome perks with these visits. These include free food and drink, but you could also get something known as exclusive ride time, or ERT for short. This means you get to enjoy the coasters either before the park opens or after it closes to the public with minimal lines, usually. One particularly unusual ERT session.
We did that in high school in physics. We had like a Six Flags day. It was awesome.
Was offered by England's Drayton Manor in 2002. Here, club members were allowed to experience the park's stand-up coaster Shockwave in a way that was definitely unorthodox. During an ERT session, enthusiasts were given the chance to stand up backwards on the coaster. Instead of facing forwards as usual, they actually stood with the seats blocking their field of view. Many enthusiasts who partook in this reported that, while it was uncomfortable, it was also incredibly fun and memorable. Though the park later discontinued this experience, those who have gotten to ride it this way certainly have bragging rights.
That's cool.
Number 6. A Porsche ran on Python. Now this next segment takes advertising to a whole new level. Back in the 1980s, German auto manufacturer Porsche had developed an extremely unique marketing campaign. This campaign would consist of a commercial filmed at world-famous Dutch theme park Efteling with none other than Python, the park's Vekoma looping coaster. For this ambitious project, a special ride car was engineered for the coaster, designed to be attached to the front of the
God, they will do anything to
This car consisted of metal bars and a functioning
I get it, but goddamn.
Seems odd enough at first, but after rigorous testing, an actual Porsche 944 car body was attached to this ride car. You heard that right, an actual Porsche on a roller coaster. Of course, this project was extremely involved and required expert engineering. Extensive testing was conducted to ensure everything was in top shape, especially since actors would be riding the coaster car in the final shoot. After countless test runs and calibrations, the vehicle worked like a charm.
Could people like get
smoothly on
in
Python,
it? I guess.
The commercial that resulted was nothing short of spectacular. Nowadays, a studio would likely use CGI to make something like this, but the practical effects on display really make this ad special. Now this is an ad.
Well, I mean, like, you couldn't do that if you wanted to impress people that are like actually in the park or like taking videos. Like, it has to be there physically.
Worthy of the Super Bowl. Number 5, the
UK
Coaster Record. Next up, we're diving into a
I know about that one.
Albeit unusual piece of roller coaster history from the UK. Did you know that the UK has broken the record for the most naked people on a roller coaster?
I have.
Not once, not twice,
do know that.
not 3 times, but 4 times. The first record set.
Look at that fucking alligator.
Twice, not 3.
Look at those shifty eyes. He wants to see behind him so bad.
3 times, but 4 times. The first record-setting ride was on Nemesis Inferno at Thorpe Park in May 2004. Not content with just one record, the country shattered it again on Nemesis at Alton Towers in August 2004. This streak...
It's the weirdest shit.
Southend-on-Sea's Adventure Island on green screen in 2010. Finally, the most recent record was set on the Grand National at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in 2019. The one at Blackpool was organised by British Naturism, the UK's natural naturist organisation, and members of the public.
Natural nature.
Were free to sign up as well. For those who've ridden Grand National, you'll know it's not the smoothest of coasters. Add to that the fact that it was a chilly 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
You got titties flying everywhere.
A rather interesting challenge. Nevertheless, many
oh
participants
god,
in the Grand
that's
National
fucking
record
funny.
call the experiences memorable and upbeat. Even better, many of these record attempts were done to raise money for charity. You know what? More power to these people. Number 4, Ralph Furman's F1 ride on the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Turns out Efteling wasn't the only park to have a car strapped to one of their coasters. Shortly after the British Grand Prix in 2003, F1 driver Ralph Furman went to Blackpool Pleasure Beach for a special publicity event.
Okay, I'm gonna skip. It's probably like the Porsche thing.
On this list, but this next one is just flat out bizarre. In 2009, Thorpe Park opened Saw the Ride, a Gerstlauer Eurofighter model themed after the infamous Saw movie franchise. The next year, they decided to take things a step further with the launch of a Saw horror maze to go along with it. In February 2010, guests were given a chance to contribute to the attraction. And the way the park went about doing this was truly taking the piss. Believe it or not, Thorpe Park held a urine odor contest.
What the
In this
fuck?
competition, the guest with the worst smelling urine would win 500 British pounds.
I wonder how much asparagus skyrocketed when this came out.
The winner would also have their scent
Wait, don't do that.
separate tracks. Each track's lift hill stood in a mesmerizing row, and the sight of all 5 trains on the tracks together was truly one to remember. Interestingly enough, the tracks had a bit of variety to them. One track was a
Cool.
mild family coaster, while 2 tracks directly raced each other, and the remaining
Kind of like the
dueled
Dueling
each other.
Dragon thing. a
Imagine
little
being
bit,
able to
maybe.
claim all 5 of these coaster credits, assuming you'd count them as 5. At the time, this coaster was truly fit for a World's Fair.
It looks
After
pretty
the fair
cool.
ended, though, officials wanted to reuse the land as a permanent amusement park. So to make room for new attractions, they removed the family coaster and the racing tracks, leaving only the dueling tracks still standing. Later on in 1999, the dueling tracks were combined into a quasi-Mobius loop coaster, meaning
Oh, that's
passengers would
badass.
experience each track in one circuit. For the next few years, the coaster operated as arguably one of the longest on Earth. However, after a fatal accident on the park's Fujin Raijin 2 coaster, the park's attendance plummeted, leading to its closure in 2007. Nowadays, the former spot of the coaster is taken up by a shopping mall. Number 1,
Oh,
a
there you
roller
go.
coaster was built to jump the track.
Oh,
Brooklyn's
yeah.
Coney Island is a place that's
I know
often
about this.
associated with the world-famous Cyclone coaster. But in the early 1900s, there was another ride that aimed to redefine how thrilling a roller coaster could be. Designed by George Francis Meyer, this
I
coaster
remember
featured
this.
a track segment that went through
It's
the
wild.
barrel of a giant canyon. But that wasn't all. The original plan for this coaster was to have the cars race out of the canyon and hop a gap in the track, supposedly landing
There's a game called Park Beyond, and this is basically what's in that game. It's like all kinds of wacky, crazy shit.
safely on the other side. This sounds like something out of a cartoon or a stunt show, but it was in fact built and tested with the intent to open it to the public. During the testing
Nope.
phase, sandbags took the place of human passengers. The results were a bit of a mixed bag, as while the car did make it across a few times, it
A few.
crashed more often than not.
Probably
What they
not
expect
great.
to happen. Realizing the risks and impracticality of the concept, the coaster eventually reopened with a gap filled by a connecting piece of track and operated until 1907. The dream of jumping the track on a coaster was put to rest, but this year, riders will
This is gonna be really fucking cool.
finally get a similar sensation on the upcoming Donkey Kong coaster at Universal Studios Japan. It took over a century, but your wildest coaster dreams can at least partially come true. Now it's time for the comment
Yeah.
shoutout program. This is where I take 5 random
Okay. Yeah, apparently with that they're making a minecart coaster, but like the coaster is vertical, and they have the ride like the minecart above it, but like the track is below it. And as the track goes, the cart will like obviously follow it since it's connected to it, but it'll look like you're jumping on rails and stuff. It's really fucking cool. It's very difficult to describe, but the idea, I've never really even thought of any roller coaster doing something like that. It's like completely brand new, at least to me. I don't know. Maybe there's some other ones out there. But anyway, all right. I'm going to hop off. I will be back later. Get some sleep. Maybe some food. Anyway, if you're watching, I appreciate it. And I'll be back